Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle. Today we have with us Matthew Miglin with Sewer Surgeons. Welcome to the program, Matthew.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, give us a little bit of background on yourself and what led you to the firm Sewer Surgeons.
Well, I'm a third-generation builder and remodeler, so I started in the construction trades and had, sewers and plumbing work and, all the things that revolve around construction and homes and buildings and stuff like that. I was involved in all of that, and it was something that was a lot of fun, very challenging, and it paid my bills and paid for a lot of luxuries over the years and made a good living for me for about 29 years. But a few years back, I started realizing I couldn't build the McDonald's of the construction field because it's so management intensive and there's so many detailed parts to the business line. But I've been studying marketing and businesses, successful businesses for a long time. And one of the things that I saw is that I couldn't really duplicate what I was doing. It was very difficult to do. And so I decided to pick one aspect of all the different aspects of construction that I found there was a huge need coming up. Number two, that it was very profitable. And number three, I thought could be duplicated relatively easy, and you could train employees to do it. And so the sewer business became that tool. I kind of fell into it. Just the opportunity seemed to work out. It seemed to make sense, and so I stepped into it. Didn't realize I would have such a long learning curve, but being in construction all these years, but there was a big learning curve. But what I found it to be, it simplified things, narrowed my niche, and allowed me to market much easier because I could target one area, one particular segment of the industry. And I found that there's not a lot of competition in this industry, and yet there's a lot of profit and opportunity. So that's why I'm here doing it.
Well, I love that you took this wide funnel and brought it down to this very narrow need, and you used a couple words that are really important. There is a problem, and you have a solution. And, it's one thing if you just sell widgets or, whatever you want to think of, and everybody out there is just you're undercutting the next guy and trying to race to the bottom of the lowest price, but you're finding a massive need that is not something that people are clamoring to get into. Who wants to get into the sewer business? But yet, people have that need. And when you can, the other thing from a consumer perspective, who would I want to call? Someone that does this whole 1920 bullet point list of services related to your home, and we can come look at your sewer, or the sewer surgeon, the specialist. So is literally that the only service you do, and you don't do any other type of plumbing or repair services?
Just about. We did do general plumbing for quite a while and realized there was so many plumbers out there that we didn't need to compete on that level, and it wasn't necessary. We decided to even narrow the plumbing niche even deeper into just pretty much below ground plumbing piping work, which most plumbers, believe it or not, don't like to do or don't like to get involved in, which is kind of a good thing for us. So we pretty much narrowed it to the sewer and water side of pipe work, as well as grease traps, which is it falls in the sewer section, or at least the pipes run through a grease trap. So we do grease traps for commercial kitchens. We restore and reline them as well. But that's pretty much it. It's pretty much in that circle.
Yeah, really, really niche specialized. So I love that. And even though you say you don't have many competitors, I'm certain you have a competitor. So what would you say sets you apart? What would that competitive advantage be from your firm?
Well, before I answer that, I want to say what's really interesting, having been in this particular industry for a few years now, because this is kind of sight unseen, or it's hidden, that the average homeowner, for example, or even business owner, can't see what's in their pipes or what's underground as they could with a normal construction job. they're dependent on your integrity and your expertise to know what's there. And unfortunately, Mike, I found is this is notorious for con artists, rip-off agents, guys that are taking advantage of people, scaring the living daylights out of them. They can't really tell. And when you're not used to looking into this camera that we have and seeing what you see, the average person, it just looks like it's just overwhelming. They don't know what they're looking at. We're like doctors or surgeons. We can look at it and we know exactly what we're looking at because of doing so many. And so I find that this industry, there's a lot of people being taken advantage of. So that motivates me even more to do the right thing. And what has separated us, really what we find is separating us even more these days than ever before, is number one, integrity. We even today I had one of my techs tell me this customer wants a price for a lining, and he cameraed it and checked it. He goes, it's in perfect shape. You do not need a liner. Well, the average company would jump all over that and say, no, you absolutely need a liner, and we got to give you a price, and we don't. And I'll give you a really great example, and it's really sad. It's a sad story, but it's one of many. We were called in to be a second opinion for a customer who had a plumbing company come out and give them an estimate. And the company had, showed them a crack or a break in their pipe, and it was urgent. They needed to do it right away. It was charging them an astronomical fee to line this pipe and all that, and really pressured them. Fortunately, they were smart enough to know that they weren't going to be pressured into this and that they needed to get a second opinion. So they called us in as a second set of eyes. And so when we went in and we started running our camera, and the first thing that the homeowner said was, "That's not my pipe."
Oh my! He
said, "That's not what the last plumber showed me." It's like that. They
showed them a different shot.
Well, apparently, this is what with our video equipment, you can record videos. Well, apparently, what this plumbing company was doing, they took one of their worst pipe videos.
Oh, no.
And as they would push the camera in, they would push play, and the customer would not know any different.
Right.
That he's pushing this into someone else's, pushing it into their pipe, but viewing someone else's pipe.
Night.
So, yeah, long story short, once we showed example how a company could do that. We just, like my tech showed him, he was absolutely livid. And then when we went and actually finished cameraing his pipes, we said, "There's nothing wrong with your pipes at all. There's no cracks, no breaks.
Good.
They don't need to service at all." And so it was one of those things. It was integrity. We did the right thing. And so that's just one of many stories. The stories, we could go on for the whole 20 minutes with just stories, because it's sad. So that to me is number one, is integrity in this industry is what we bring to the table. Number two is we bring technology that the other ones don't. Most of them offer one or two services. They'll dig up a pipe, and some of them will reline pipes. And we have competition on both sides of that. We actually can not only dig up and replace the pipes like a traditional thing, we can do a traditional inverted liner, which is some other companies do, or we can do a push-pull liner, which is even more accurate and exact than what other companies who do liners do. Or we can actually spray coat the inside of a pipe, which we're one of the few companies on the East Coast that actually even offer that service. So we can actually give people lots of choices and options to what fits best for their budget, for their situation, because some of them, it's not cut and dry one or the other. Some companies only have one option to offer, and that's not always the best for them. So we're able to do more than the other companies can.
So I love your integrity approach. Kudos there. That should be the way that business is done, as a matter of fact, across the board. But we know it's not. So that is a massive competitive advantage. And you just gave a couple examples of how you talked yourselves out of business. But I will guarantee you that when that couple actually has a need for your service, who's the first person they're going to call? So that is just the way to do things. But here's something that, as the uneducated consumer listening in, as myself, hearing what you just said, expound a little bit more on the liners. I don't understand what that is and where that comes into play. Why would I need that? What are some of those triggers that would make me think, ooh, I might need help, and then how does that liner fit in?
Great question. Well, what's interesting is most people don't know that pipelining is over a 20-year process that's been out there. And unfortunately, more than 50% of at least homeowners are not even aware it even is an option or it even exists. So it's a great question you have. Pipelining is actually a process where it's called generally CIPP. It stands for cured in place product. So it's basically we take a fabric that's shaped like a pipe, and we saturate it with 2 parts of epoxy that are, once they're mixed, are in a process of hardening, but they're soft when it goes in. So we're able to put this soft, flexible liner and pull it into a pipe, and then we have a balloon inside that we blow it up and basically cause it to impress it or embed it against the existing walls of the pipe. And then we run steam or hot water through it, and it cures that epoxy much quicker and makes a permanent pipe on the inside of your pipe. So whether you have a crack in the pipe or part of your pipe's missing like we have sometimes, whether it's under your driveway, it's underneath your concrete floor, it's underneath your finished beautiful tiled, expensive tiled kitchen floor, whatever it might be, you don't have to dig up, jackhammer, rip up your driveway, mess up your beautiful landscaping along. We're able to create a new pipe within your old pipe without making the traditional mess that most plumbing companies or sewer companies would actually do, which is get a big machine out there, dig up your pipe, replace the pipe, and all that. So in about 85% of the cases, we don't have to dig. Sometimes we do have to dig because the pipe has a belly in it, or it's holding water, or it's back pitched, or all these different things that we find. So we know that's the right thing to do, as opposed to some companies will say, no, just line it, it'll be fine, and it's not the right way. So sometimes you have to do the traditional, but we offer the option of the liner, which gives them a better solution. We also, I didn't mention before, but the pipe bursting is actually one of our other additional options, which we can actually pull in a new pipe through the old pipe. It basically cuts the old pipe in half, and we pull a new pipe through the same channel, and then basically just pull it all the way, and then we attach it at each end, and so they can have a new pipe that way as well, which there's a lot more companies that do that, but the lining is much quicker, it's less invasive, don't have to do any digging at all, and it can be done generally in one day. So I don't know if that answered your question effectively.
Oh, it most certainly does, and I love convenience, speed. That speaks to some huge benefits, and I would also suspect that for the couple of the examples you mentioned, like some flower beds or some nice tile work, even if some company said, oh, we put it right back how we found it, it never goes back the same way, right? So even if someone did say, let's dig it up, it'll go right back in, it won't. You never get it the same way. So I would think that one of your competitive advantages of this liner and trenchless work is the fact that it's easier, quicker, and it doesn't disrupt. Is there also the aspect that it's more economical, or is it about the same price as digging them up?
Great question. The answer to that question is it depends. Okay. There are a lot of guys who have a backhoe or an excavator out there, and the machine's paid for and work very inexpensively. And so there's some guys who will actually dig up the yard, assuming it's not, going to be tragic, or they have to dig through somebody's front porch area to get to the pipe or whatever. But if it's a straight run, generally traditional digging, if you're just going from the house to the curb, can usually be less than what it costs for us to do our lining, because sometimes all the work of cammering properly, cleaning and descaling the pipe properly, and then doing our liner, which every once in a while we lose one and we have to redo it, and so the cost, all that's involved in it. So it generally it's not cheap, but it's not super expensive at the same time. So where the cost actually comes in is where it's competitive and it's less expensive is if a lot of these traditional plumbing companies, they'll change from the house to the curb because they can do that without anything invasive. They don't need traffic control for police. They don't need all those things. But they're only doing 75% of most of the people's sewer lines. the part from the curb out to the street, most homeowners don't realize most of them are responsible for that. So if it fails, they can't call the sewer authorities to replace that. The sewer authority, says they're responsible all the way to the main. Only the main itself is the responsibility of the sewer companies, and most people don't realize this. So when we go in, and now we price against someone who now has to get the police to block the traffic, they have to get a road opening permit, they have to get a bond to be able to open the street, they have to cut the asphalt, remove all that, remove the pipe, put a new pipe in, put in fresh new stone now, not the old dirt, asphalt, all that. That cost to do that whole line is now double what it would cost us to line it. So where it comes economical is in that particular case, where if you're going to do the whole line from the house into the sewer main in the street, we are generally half the price or still at a price break compared to what it would cost to do the traditional approach. So in that case...
Now, if you don't have to do the whole line, then is the price comparable, not necessarily less? And if it's comparable, then your win is it's more ease of use. It's less
intrusive.
Intrusive. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Is that the case potentially?
It's generally still a little bit more, but most people will opt. And when I say most, I'd say maybe 60 to 65% would opt for the extra money because of the convenience and less, hassle. And a great example is where I am in New Jersey. It's wintertime, and so anybody who's going to dig up the yard now, if their front yard is going to have no grass in the next 6 months before it starts growing, and it's most people that looks horrible and don't want it because it doesn't matter how much grass you put down, it's not going to grow. So in that case, like this one builder we work for, he's not going to be able to sell his house very easily because it's going to look horrible. So he's opting for us doing a liner because even though it's costing him more, he has a finished product to show people for the first impression. So yes, it does cost. It will still cost a little bit more for that shorter run, but what you're gaining is the convenience and less of an intrusion of your property. So.
I love it. It really explains it well. The lining, the cost savings potential, but mainly the convenience factor. So that really made it clear. So last question, and then we'll wrap up. What is the thing that would make someone notice that they need your help? I mean, is it water in the basement? Is it water in the yard? Or what is the thing that's going to make someone go, ooh, I need to call sewer surgeons?
It could be a combination of all that. It could be when you do start seeing something in the yard or you start smelling that wonderful aroma out in your yard, then that's generally a sign that you do have a leak. Also, when you do tend to have the toilets don't flush so well and they're starting to have trouble, going down, it could be a sign that there's roots building up in your line or there's a blockage that's starting to build up. Typically, you find is the lowest sink or bathtub or shower in the house is what starts to have sewage coming up into it because there's a blockage. So that's usually a pretty obvious sign that it needs to get at least at that point snaked or cleaned by a drain cleaning company. Where we come in is when the drain cleaning company finds that there's a lot of roots they're pulling out. Well, roots don't get smaller or stay the same size over time. They get bigger and fill the pipe up solid. So eventually you can't even you can't even run anything down the pipe. And they feed off of sewage and water, so they only get bigger and stronger and thicker, and eventually just bust your pipe apart. So that means that you want us in there before it gets too far, because once it goes beyond a certain point, you may have to dig it up. So it's something like that, a blockage, something like a root problem. Typically, there's a tree in that yard that's finding that source. The smell outside, and I feel like there was one more, but I'm not thinking of it at the moment. But just, those are pretty much obvious signs. I always recommend anyone, whether you're buying a house, whether you're having your existing house, to get your sewer line cameraed at least every 10 years, just to know what's going on, because you don't know what's going on in a pipe. And the sooner you catch something like that, the better. Oh, that's what I was going to say. When someone's getting their drains cleaned, and I know some people every year they'll have to get their drain cleaned, they'll call in Roto-Rooter and all that. It's when that time frame keeps getting smaller and smaller, we get people call us like, gee, in the last 4 months, we've had our, drain cleaned 2 or 3 times. Well, that's when you know there's a problem. It's time to get inspected. So, and then last point I was going to make is one of the advantages of our liners over traditional is typically most contractors will give a 1-year warranty on putting in brand new pipe in. When we put in a liner, we give them a 10-year warranty, and it's considered a 50-year lifespan product. So basically, once we put a liner in, it's considered good for life, and we warranty at least for 10 years, and we feel it's going to go going to last much longer than that. And the fact
convenience, speed, and warranty 1 compared to 10. That's huge point. So really, really great. Get to know some of the ins and outs of your business. What's the best way for people to reach out and either connect with you or learn more about your business?
They can reach us at sewersurgeons.com, or they can email us at sewersurgeons@yahoo.com, or they can call us at 973-579-3322. But we're all over the internet, so they can find us easily.
Excellent. Well, Matthew, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate the time.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.